So, did I ever tell you about the story that I was skinny for one day in my entire life? One day, I kid you not. And the following week, I gained 20 pounds, and within a month, I gained 40 pounds. So, I wanted to show you this picture. This is me. Yes, I did a figure show in Reno. And I had worked really, really hard. This was the first time in my life that I had done anything like that. I was 40 years old. I lost 80 pounds. And the whole reason why I bring this up was because there's a lot of talk about, how many times should you eat during the day? And, eating more times per day seems to be the norm out there, especially with any of your personal trainers, your nutritionists, those kind of things, because it is a common myth in, losing weight, things like that, that you have to eat 5-6 times a day to keep your metabolism up. Well, so let me just tell you the story on that. In the bodybuilding world, you eat 5-6 times a day, period. And you have to eat. You have to eat every 2 to 3 hours because, that has to keep up your metabolism. And you're on a very, very, very strict cutting diet. And by cutting, that means losing weight. It's just a jargon term. But anyway, I was pretty much all I could eat was chicken, broccoli, spinach, some eggs, and peanut butter, and that was it. Very, very little fat. So, if you looked at the macros, I was getting about 160 to 200 grams of protein a day, about 50 to 75 grams of fat, which is very little. And then also, if I had a carb day, we'd have rice or sweet potatoes. So on your carb day, you'd have just chicken and rice and sweet potatoes. That would be it. And that would be your one insulin spike day, because their thinking is that the more you spike insulin, the more you're going to gain muscle. And there is some manipulative truth to that. But again, that's a lot of diet manipulation to get certain hormonal pictures or profiles working in the body to get more muscle. There's been a lot of research in the last couple of years that has proven that that is false. Number one, the biggest thing with anything is belief. What do you believe is going to work? I mean, that is because your thoughts direct your body. Your body listens to your thoughts and responds. It gives a chemical, emotional, physical, neuronal response. But anyway, long story short is for an entire year, I mean, I didn't even have coffee. I didn't have cream in my coffee, nothing like that. It was so restricted. And my thought process at the time was just get through this so you can get to the show. And then, I just figured that, I'll be skinny for the rest of my life. Well, that obviously did not happen, because I never addressed any of the underlying emotions that I had about my body. I never addressed the underlying thoughts that I had about my body. All I did was do an external diet, and it was sheer willpower. I can guarantee you, I would actually watch all of those Food Network programs, and I would just dream and drool about food. I mean, all the time. I'd just be like, I can't wait to eat that. So long story short is that I did the show. You do a lot of extreme body manipulation. And what I mean by extreme body manipulation, you're manipulating your macros constantly. You're manipulating your water weight. When you get down into the single digits, and for women, you're not usually down in the single digits unless you're in a bodybuilding show, when you actually see striated muscle. So you're usually down into the 10-12% body fat range for women in a figure competition. And so you have to manipulate water. So you super hydrate, which gets rid of all the extraneous tissue water, and then you dry out. So you literally don't have water for 2 days during the show. I was so dehydrated during the show, and I was cramping so bad. Doing an isometric pose, so you're when you're doing your pose, you are like frozen in space. And so it was cramping like you wouldn't believe. I mean, just these horrible muscle spasms from that. This was before I was in holistic health, so I didn't really know any better. I was just following what my trainer was telling me to do. Well, what happened is that after the end of the show, because you usually show morning and then evening, at the end of the show, we all go out to eat, and you're just like, oh my God, real food. And I'm pretty sure we had spaghetti or something, lasagna or something like that. We went to an Italian restaurant, and it was just like amazing to have those kind of carbohydrates. And then I went on an all-out binge that week. And I mean, I ate everything in sight. Everything in sight. Donuts, chips, pizza, regular soda pop, lattes. I mean, all this stuff that I couldn't have before. I was just eating candy. And promptly gained 20 pounds in 1 week. 1 week. Now, a lot of that was water, because carbohydrates have a 1-to-3 ratio for holding water in the body. So for every gram of carbohydrate that you take in, the body holds 3 grams, 3 times its weight in water. So that's another reason why, sticking to a lower carb will give you a leaner look, just because your body isn't holding on to extraneous water. But then what happened after that is my body just literally shut down, and I was in extreme adrenal fatigue, because during that whole time, I had a very, very physical job. If you know me, I used to shoe horses. Very physical job. So I was doing hard physical labor every single day. I was working out twice, sometimes 3 times a day, on top of my physical labor, and then doing this extreme six times a day eating regime. And because my body wasn't getting enough fat from my diet, things really started to break down, because fat is a precursor to all of your cells. You have to have cholesterol in your diet. If you don't, your cells start to break down. Every cell wall is made of cholesterol. Cholesterol really gets a bad rap, and it's sad, and I'll do a video on that at some point. But needless to say, my whole body shut down. My kidneys shut down, and it wasn't from the high protein. That's a complete and total fallacy. What was happening is that my cortisol levels went through the roof because of the stress and the extreme emotional stress of doing that, because I really put myself through hell that entire year to try to get to this weight to be at this show. And not that bodybuilding's bad, it's just there's a lot of bad advice out there when it comes to manipulating your body and getting the look that you want. I ended up pretty much lying on the couch. I had extreme edema, which is fluid in the tissues. I wasn't peeing at all. And I mean, I was scared. As a nurse, I was like, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Went to a doctor because, and at the time I still had this underlying idea that I never have trusted doctors working with them. And of course, she put me on diuretics, and I asked her what her, rationale for that was. I'm like, that's not going to solve the problem. There's something going on underneath. Why would you just put me on a diuretic? Because my kidneys aren't working. You should be looking at that. We did run a cortisol panel, and the results came back. She was like, I've never seen cortisol levels this high before. And it took me about a year to heal from that. And that actually started me on the journey to holistic health and natural health, because I realized that, you know what, Western medicine was not going to give me the answers that I was looking for. So that took me down, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. It took me down a really great path as far as going to holistic health and natural health, and found some great healers with nutrition, and ended up healing my body quite rapidly, completely reversed everything that was going on with my kidneys, and just had a great outcome from that. Minerals was a huge issue. I really learned a lot about mineral balance in the body, and how detrimental, if you don't have minerals, that can really cause a lot of issues. And for me, that was definitely one of those. Ended up finding out that when you dump all that weight, fat holds on to a lot of toxins. And what happened is that I was really highly heavy metal toxic, and it mostly mercury. And growing up in Montana, being downstream from mines my entire life, and having a whole mouthful of amalgam fillings didn't help. So I ended up removing all the amalgam fillings, doing a major heavy metal detox, and voila, wouldn't you know, kidneys healed, body healed. I just didn't have any of those issues anymore. So that was my experience with eating 6 times a day. Does it boost your metabolism? For some people it does. Now for others it doesn't. Here is the thing. There is no one size fits all diet for anybody. Beliefs and thoughts have major impacts on how your body responds. What you fight will fight you back. I'm telling you that. What you believe, that is what you receive. So, and I'm talking a deep, heartfelt belief. A lot of people might have a belief up here, and that's not it. It has to be in here that's putting the operating program into place. So, it did nothing for me, but for other people, it does work very well. The science behind it is pretty sketchy as far as eating 6 times a day boosts your metabolism. There really isn't any hard science behind that. They're finding more and more, the less you eat, the more your metabolism jumps up, because it has to. So anyway, that was my one day that I was skinny in my previous 40 years of life, and it lasted for one whole day. So take that sad story and do what you will. All right, you guys, have a happy trail. We'll talk to you later. Bye.